Good afternoon, everybody. With another TeleDynes live stream. All right. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. Doing pretty good. Had a crazy week again. And how you doing, Gizmodus? Good to see you again. Yeah, last week we had, let's see, Saturday. I took off to play the show. Couldn't tell you what it was. Can't remember. But I think we played. What did we play? I don't remember. I know Sunday I played at the Newport Vineyards, and that was pretty. Oh, it was a private event. It was the surf thing. That's right. It was a luau, and we played mostly surf tunes. So. A lot of that. Surf Rider, the Lively Ones, and a couple of other types of ventures type tunes, or we take songs and turn them into surf tunes, and I just play the melody on the guitar. You know, like I put a version of Paperback Writer up there, and just put a surf beat behind it. Boom, bop, 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 you know, it's pretty cool. And I have this little and then go into the melody, and then you can play the little vocal lines here at the end. Yeah, that was fun. And then we played Newport Vineyard last Sunday. I had a gig yesterday playing upright bass, which I haven't done in a while, so and not used to that, but got through it. And I have steel strings on the upright too, so a lot of players, especially with rockabilly stuff, they'll play either usually the nylon type stuff. The innovation strings are good. Some people like the labellas. Other people do a combination of different things. It's a whole rabbit hole to go down with strings. Having played different sets, I know somebody was telling me they put like a thicker G string. You like the monkeys? Yeah. Okay. But as far as sets that you can buy without having to combine different things, I do like the idea of putting a thicker string on the G for the bass. But I like the feel of steels, and it's it takes a little more to build up the calluses for slapping, but I think it's cool. But honestly, I probably either will the next string set I put on the upright, which I don't have here at the moment, but will probably either be another steel set or possibly go back to the Innovation Golden Slaps. I had a great run with those. Had a lot of luck with those. And been messing around with sound, so getting a good sound live, which is what I was talking about in the description here for the live stream. It's tough to get a decent sound, especially with modern, especially with tube amplifiers. Some of the modern ones, even if they're tube, do have a separate sort of attenuator already built into it, and they sound pretty good. But if you don't know, if you're trying to get a little bit of a breakup from the amplifier, old amplifiers didn't have a gain stage, so it would just be volume. That's it. And everything else was just in the like the bassman, just his treble, bass, presence, volume. That's it. Very simple. Um, so in order to get that breakup, you have to turn the amplifier up. So it means it gets loud. So the way to combat this is to either use an attenuator or some sort of preamp where you can drive the signal of the guitar louder and kind of it's pushing against the amplifier, the pushing against the head, and then slowly bring the volume of the amplifier up because that's kind of like your master volume. But and the only other input you have is just the volume on the guitar. I pretty much have the guitar wide open all the time, except for occasionally um, there'll be a section of a song that I want the chords to be a little quieter. And so there's a couple ways to do that. You can either just back the volume up just a little bit. You kind of have to get used to your guitar on how it reacts because every pot is different. Um, you can go through one pot, all of a sudden you'll have nothing, 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 and then full all the way. Same thing with tone knobs. So to find a nice one that gradually changes your tone, or in this case, just the volume, so you can back it off a little bit and still dig in and play chords without having to be super loud. Um, the other thing you can do is sometimes I'll do it. I don't know. It just depends on the setup, and every room is different too. So you have to be aware of a lot of factors. Is your guitar mic'd? Is it not? Is it um, is the room is it carpeted? Is there soundproofing? Is there Are you playing under a tin roof like I was yesterday? Um, and you it completely changes the sound. Uh, in the same way that I don't usually use reverb live because, especially if it's in a washy area, if it's one of my favorite places to play is a cement floor with a kind of a it's pretty high up, but it's still a metal roof, and the I don't put a lot of effects on the vocals for the PA or the guitar. Really, it's everything gets brought back down. But if there's a lot of soundproofing, a lot of carpeting everywhere, then that stuff goes back up. So you have to listen and be aware of that. Now, as far as the amplifier itself goes, again, the gain stages, it depends on your amplifier. A lot of the new ones I've noticed have gain, volume, and master, and that is actually easier to work with than just the gain and the master because if you turn the gain up, you're going to get more distortion. Keep the master down, turn the gain up, and then slowly bring the master up. You're going to get a dirtier sound. If you reverse it, you're going to get a cleaner sound. So you bring the master all the way up, slowly bring the gain up. That's going to be very super clean, but you're not going to get a lot of sustain from the amplifier. So it just depends on the sound that you're going for. I like a little bit of a breakup. So if you're in that situation where you can't turn the amplifier up and you don't have an attenuator, turn the gain up and then slowly boost the master until you get loud enough. And you'll probably be the only downside if you're playing a Gretsch or you're playing any kind of hollow body guitar, it's probably going to feed back if you get too loud with a setup like that. So then you have to be somewhat careful. But if your objective is to keep it low, you're probably not going to get loud enough to where it's going to feed back anyway. Um, and then, of course, if you have a preamp like with my the Mystery Brain has a preamp in it. So if you want a little bit more breakup, you can just turn that preamp up without even touching your amplifier. That works really well. The RE20 version, the Space Echo pedal, not the analog one, but the the digital pedal, has an input signal where you can adjust the input of the guitar into the amplifier. And I usually had it at 12 o'clock when I was playing because I would use an attenuator. But if I didn't use an attenuator, and I prefer not to use the attenuators. And I'll tell you why, because it does suck the attack and the tone just a little bit. I've noticed since I haven't been playing with one, because I played with one for so long, that now that I'm not playing with one, especially on the low strings, when you're trying to do something like that up here, like, when you're trying to do something like that, it it really comes through when you don't have the attenuator on. But with the attenuator, it tends to kind of mush it all together and over compress it, and it doesn't pop out as much. Um, it still sounds good. It still sounds organic. It's better than like that some of the new amplifiers where you're like pushing up against a limiter. It doesn't quite sound like that. Um, it just sounds a little bit more compressed and even sounding, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Um, and if you're mic'd up in a room with a sound guy, and a lot of sound guys, they don't like loud stage volume, so use one of those, they're happy, and you can feed your guitar through the monitor a little bit and have sound just fine. But I don't even know if they make those hot plates anymore, and it's getting harder to find attenuators, partially because a lot of the new amplifiers are sort of kind of built in with that volume knob, because you can just get your sound however it is, whether it's high gain and little master or somewhere in between, and then just turn the volume down and you still have your tone. Um, but for those of us out there that like vintage amplifiers and still want to use them live, the best thing to do, I think, is to have some sort of, when there isn't a gain stage, to have some sort of preamp. If I use the analog um, Space Echo, it's got a volume and an output, and it's got decibel cuts for the input and the output. So there's a lot of flexibility there to mess around with different sounds. And I've found the best way is to have the output completely wide open, and then cut the input, put the switch in the middle. So I think that's what, a 25 dB cut or something like that, or whatever, 15 or something like that. And then I can gradually just slowly turn the input volume up where it's just starting to break up. And there's a little analog uh, like dial on there, and you can see it if it goes into the red. And if it's starting to go into the red, what I've noticed is that with the tape, hit a chord like that, hit any chord, it'll record that to the tape, and then as the note dies away, you'll start to hear this crackle distortion, because the overdriven signal from the guitar also was overdriven on the tape, and then that kind of comes back, and it doesn't sound great. So you have to be careful with your input signal with stuff. But again, that's specific to that unit, and with pedals, you really don't have to worry about it. But you still get the same. I find if I turn the preamp up too much on the Mystery Brain, it's not the most pleasant sound. So I usually have that set at around 9, like 9 o'clock, and then I adjust the bass cut just so it's not too boomy. Gretches, at least for me, every Gretsch has a little different spot somewhere on the neck where um, there's an overtone and a boom, a real boomy, like, that really wants to feed back. Usually it's around like B flat, B somewhere here, right halfway in the first octave. But it's really pops out on the orange one for some reason. The newer one's a little bit better, but So that's why that bass cut is there, I think, because sometimes it's a little too much. Um, so that's the one thing that getting a good sound that can be frustrating is trying to play quiet or not super quiet, but not you don't want to blast people out of their seats, and yet still having as much enough saturation that you're getting that sustain, you're getting those tones that you want without having to, um, you know, sacrifice and play some other, not as good sounding amp mod or something like that. And it's always tough to play. You never know what's going to happen over drums and over basses, and like I said, every room's different. And most people, if you're playing obviously with the same guys all the time, you're playing the same instruments, you start to work it out and see what sounds better. Um, my what I usually do for a setup when we play live is I don't. Most people compliment us on our sound. We're never super loud. Uh, Sometimes my guitar can be a little louder. Sometimes, a lot of the times, people actually ask me to turn up because I I'm a little apprehensive about that. I don't want to drive people away with too loud of a sound. But the drums are kind of the bass line. That's where they are. That's where the sound is going to be. So everything has to be up above that enough to hear it. And that's what happens with the attenuator sometimes is that those low notes that get compressed, if the drums are really playing hard with the cymbals, I'm trying to do a riff down here, it just gets lost. You can barely hear it, and it becomes mush. Um, so having that just a direct signal without the power soaker is nice. But to continue getting that good sound, just try to get that gain up, and I don't mic the guitar. I'll mic the kick drum a little bit. I'll mic the bass, go out DI into the board, and then vocals, and that's it. I used to try. I tried doing it where I'd mic the guitar, put a little Sennheiser in front of it, and keep the stage volume down, and then mic it through the system, and that works. That's okay. It does work. But it doesn't sound great, and I'm just judging it by audience reaction for the most part, and talking to people in on the breaks and during the and after the show. What it sound like? Oh, I couldn't really hear the guitar when I was over here, and so well, I mic it, and then that wasn't enough. Still, it wasn't sounding great. But lately, since I haven't been using the attenuator and haven't been miking it and just using the amplifier the way it was designed to be used, people like it. It seems to be the best way to go. So, and that makes me happy too because I don't have to worry. It's a little less setup, and it does sound great. So, anyway, that's kind of my advice on trying to get a good sound live. Um, a lot of guitar players are not, at least local bands that I have seen recently. Most of the time, they could be a little bit louder than they actually are. A lot of the time, they are playing quieter than they need to be. Um, Not always, but a lot of the times it's quite subdued, and it's more about the piercing tones, which is something else you have to be careful. You can be careful of. If the treble's too high, again, depending on the room, if it's really bright sounding in there, very washy, just turn your treble to, if you have a presence knob, turn that down a couple of notches, and it'll take off that high piercing tones that you'll get, especially, and you can really tell, just kind of play up here and play a couple of notes up there and see if it really, um, you'll know it when you hear it. It really rings out, and it's extremely piercing. And just cut that treble and cut that presence a little bit, and that'll usually clear that issue up. Um, Same thing on the board too with your vocals when you're um, if you're when you're on the board, when you're miking them or when you're like EQing them, depending on your board, a lot of the times I'll usually take just a little bit of the high end off the top of the vocal, sometimes the mid range, but usually just the high, and that's enough. And if you have like an 80, 80 hertz high pass, cut the 80 hertz out from the bottom. You don't need that for vocals, so I usually just cut that, and that will stop a lot of the feedback issues that you get when you try to increase the vocal level. So anyway, that's my little advice and what I do live. It seems to work, so figured I'd share it. Otherwise, I've just been fooling around with some other riffs and things. The if you want, a lot of people, when you play something like an A, like that little riff there, instead of just going to the pentatonic, you can go to the major pentatonic, which is just playing a pentatonic scale over an F sharp. But when you play it that same shape over the relative 6, you have, it sounds major. And that, instead of like sounding cliche, blues riffs all the time. And that gives you a little bit of different sound, especially if you're playing songs that have a little more singer-songwriter country major chords, right? It's not just a 12 bar. Having those, basically the way you think about it, the best way to think about it is just what's the 6, and just play a pentatonic scale over that 6. So if you're in D, 6 is B minor, just play a, and then your major is still right there, and go right up to it. And then your 5 is here, and you can play right off of that instead of just thinking like this. It's more or that's the way I think about it in that way. 1, 4, 5. And you're playing down here. Then you can also combine the other patterns and the other scales up there. But if you want it to sound a little more major, that's an easy way to do it. And doing something like that, every note there is all diatonic until we get to the 6, and then we just walk chromatically. What you can do, you can chromatically walk down until you're hitting the note, another root note in your scale. Especially if you're going to hit the root note of the chord that you're going to. Some other little tricks here. You've probably seen little riffs like this before. I like throwing them in occasionally. You're playing the C shape. I move that up. Move that everywhere. Anywhere you're playing that, playing A, you can play the 6, the minor, It's like an A6, right? And you can do kind of rake it up. You've heard that before. And do one of those. Setzer does that all the time. And you can run down the neck too. You can A, 1, 7, 5, 4. Right? And you can do that in any key, but it's if you go 1, 7, 5, 4, if you're going to the 4, like you're just walking down. You're just doing that. And you could do it in any whatever key you're doing, right? That's harder to do because you're although you can. Open strings there. But yeah, that's a little trick to do. Something you can throw in when you're going to the 1. And that other, when you're doing that, you're throwing in the minor third there. Obviously, it's more of a stretch when you get down here, but do you ever pinch pick and get that squealing sound? Oh, like the squealers? Like that? A lot of that is dependent on, of course, the sound. And that's, of course, you twist the pick. I sometimes do it. It's easy. The more distortion or the more saturation you've got, it's easier. But so it depends. If I have a gig where I do have a little bit more headroom, I can crank up the amp and get a little bit more saturation without being too loud. Or if I play with like a tube screamer or something. Oh yeah, I'll do that all the time because it's fun. But and yeah, you can hear it on a lot of Skinnerd stuff and the squealers or whatever they call them. They're fun. Yeah, that's just achieved in case anybody wants to know by just kind of twisting the pick a little bit and letting your thumb kind of hit the string, kind of move it around and find out where the harmonic is. Usually right in the middle there. And yeah, it's fun. Those are the squealers, and then of course you have your artificial harmonic. Yeah, so let's see what else. That was one little trick that I like to do, and again, that's all that scale there. And that's you put those little passing tones in, right? So you can. Yeah, that's right. Lagrange, the solo, yeah, it does have a lot of those in there. I mean, it's easy to do it by accident for sure. I mean, I usually do try to plan it out. but sometimes that doesn't work out so well. You try to, again, if you have distortion, you have some sort of distortion pedal, whether it's a two screamer or just one of the um, regular Boss distortion pedals, that'll work. That'll work fine. Um, and it's easier to achieve that. Um, Sometimes trying to do it in the right spot isn't as easy as you think, you know. So, but if you have distortion, it's gonna pop out a little bit more too. So if you're trying to avoid it, um, I just back off the distortion a little bit. Yo, Razorhead, what's up? Um, oh, let's see. Any other tips and tricks? Um, that was the main one, like playing off of that scale, as well as and if you're right there too, again, you're here in A. Right over the 4 or the 5 or whatever the progression's going to be doing. And if you're going to if you're going to a minor 6, you can play it. And that back to like the Rockabilly riffs thing, if you need something to come in crazy with a solo and you got the delay going and you're just coming over and go into the 1, you can just go and then go and go back to some other regular thing. But it really gets your attention. um at least it does for me. Another sound I like is that, but you kind of have to get the band together on this one, is going into a spot in the solo and you just play the progression, but you're just doing your finger picking stuff. And the band quiets down. And maybe you just get the bass like playing every other note. Boom, 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 1, 5, 1 and the 3, as opposed to 1, 2, playing a walking bass line, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 3, and maybe the drums are just hitting the kick, or maybe clicking on the snare drum or something like that. So the dynamic is coming way down, and then it allows the finger picking stuff to really pop. Nice. It's a cool trick, but again, that's more of a band thing, and everybody's kind of has to be on the same page for that. I guess sort of kind of rehearse it. I guess just depends on how long you guys have been playing together. I mean, at this point, if I wanted to do something like that in a song, and now I'm trying to think, oh, what song could I throw that in? Because actually, we don't do anything like that. I used to do something like that on some song years ago, but I don't remember what it was. Yeah, well, I could probably just tell the guys like, hey, at this point in this song, I'm gonna look at you and just quiet down, and then I'm gonna just go around on a solo, and then we could probably throw it in next week, because we're playing next week. We're playing in a place called Narragansett Cafe in Jamestown, Rhode Island, and that's always a fun show. I'll try to get some video of that one. I haven't been doing any of the live videos of the shows because of the cover songs, not just that we play, but also that um, establishments or I might even play over the PA other cover tunes, and they're the actual sound recordings, and that could potentially lead to copyright strikes, and I don't want to have to deal with that. So that's part of the reason why I haven't. That's the main reason why I haven't done it. I did it at first because I wanted to see, oh, is this gonna would it would it help the channel? And then, of course, immediately it didn't get copyright strike, but it did get partially blocked, and I just live and learn, figure that out. But I'll try to get some recordings of just some original songs. The phones, it's really tough because I would really like to get a nice live recording of the band playing with the video, but that's a lot. That's a major setup to have something like that. Um, Miking everything so you have control of it later, so you can mix it so it sounds pretty decent. And the ones that I put, that's why I've posted primarily instrumentals for the cover songs that we've done, because the with the vocals, if either the vocals are too loud in the mix and that's all you hear and everything else gets drowned out because you only have one audio source, the phone. Even if I set up other audio sources, it's mixing that, because something's so loud in one audio source, I you have to turn it down so much that you might as well not even use it. And or the vocals are too quiet and then you can't hear it and it just sounds like mush. So that's why I've been just doing the instrumentals, because at least it's somewhat even. Um, but at some point, we're going to do um, a live recording of, once we get closer to do the album release, which is on the horizon. I've got a couple more tunes to record, get those mixed, and I'm going to slowly, like I've said, release song by song. It's just been a crazy summer with all the gigs, so I haven't had a lot of time to do much else. But now that things are starting to slow down, summer's over technically, right? Today, I think, is today or tomorrow, first day of spring, fall, autumn, um, and yes, things start to kind of relax a little bit, and I have more time to get to everything. And the next video, Good Rockin' Tonight, is almost done. I've just got to finish mixing it. It's pretty much there. It's just a couple of level issues, making sure to get the sound effects in there, because I do a little bit on the history of the tune, which actually has quite a rich history to it. But I didn't go into every detail. I just kind of hit the bullet points and go right into the structure. And the structure on the Good Rockin' Tonight is weird. It's not a typical. It's not as straightforward as you think. Um, and check and see if anyone has recorded or reacted to the reacted to the song. Yeah, that's true. The um, yeah, I could control that with like what we play, but what happened the last time, it wasn't what we played. It was what was played on the overhead that I didn't have any control over. It was just what the club was playing. And so, because I started the live stream, I just started it before we were going, and I had to set it up, and the music's still going in the club. So I had to um, let whatever was playing play, and I had no control over muting it or anything else. So sometimes YouTube's good about it. It'll just, I know some streaming sites, I think Twitch does it. I think they will just block out the audio for that section. And I know that YouTube is working on that, something to do with if you do end up having or putting a song into your video that you don't realize is copyright, you could have the option of getting rid of the music but yet still keep the vocals. I don't know how well that would work with a with a um with a a live band situation, but you can't control the bar's music, but I can block it out on the video. But what happens is that it'll become its own the live um, stream of that performance will become its own video if I do that. So if I go in and like if I, like these live streams, for example, they don't show up under the video tab; they show up under the live stream tab. So you can go back and look at them that way. If I were to go through and edit, like say the beginning when it says streaming soon or whatever, um, and cut that down, it would pop it up as a and it would want its own thumbnail and everything else as its own separate video in the video tab in the list, which I guess doesn't really matter. I'm just going by what I like to see on other channels for videos that so it doesn't get kind of clogged up with a bunch of this stuff, so people can just look back and say, oh, the actual official uploads. And I don't want to delete videos or whatever. And unfortunately, you can't move them and take them away from your video. At least not that I know of. Maybe there's a way to do that, take them out of there. But I mean, it could be. I should try to look into it a little bit more. But like I said, even then, the sound is not the greatest. Um, at least the couple of places that I've tried to do it, and that's why I'm just a little apprehensive at this point to run a full live stream of a show. Um, and how good it would sound, I don't know. I don't know. I could try to do it this Friday. Um, I mean, even on this live stream, I did. Was it? I played "Oh" by Jingo, and I thought, oh, that's public domain, or at least I thought it was. Apparently not. Um, so that video got demonetized or whatever. The last live stream. Um, and maybe it isn't public domain yet. I do need a sound engineer. Um, that involves hiring one, which is uh, would definitely increase the cost. I do actually have somebody that I know a couple of guys that I've been talking to because if I want to do that and hire somebody that could mic everything and record it properly, I want to video the show as well properly, um, with at least a couple of cameras and have some different angles, at least two. Last time we did a video years ago where we did a 3 camera shoot and somebody came out and they just had 2 guys walking around, but then they had one camera on a stand. I think it was behind the the band, so it was kind of aimed at the drummer. It was locked down on a tripod, and the other 2 guys were moving around and getting motion shots. So you could cut from me playing something, or I'd go into a solo, and then you could so it doesn't stay on one shot for too long. It cuts back to the drums. I don't like the guy that edited did a really good job. I thought yeah, this was over 5 years ago. Um, and he didn't do the typical thing that I've seen a lot with live concert. Not a lot, I guess, but a couple of live concert videos that I've seen where too many cuts, like too fast. Like there's a cut almost every second or every 2 seconds. It's like make you dizzy. Like I want to watch the player for at least 5 seconds before you jump to something else. Um, so I'll probably edit it myself for the next round, but unless the guy wants to, do it again, he did a great job. So the only downside was that we didn't have everything mic'd, so everything was recorded through one of those little Tascam DR40. It's a portable little digital recorder. They're great for um, film shoots, sound, that sort of thing. So if you're um, buddy of mine does a lot of that on site, like studio on film set boom operator holds the the bullet mic over the actors and stuff like that. And usually that microphone is clipped into one of these DR40 sound things. And they also have little microphones on the front. The only downside is they're battery operated. So, and you go through a lot of batteries running those things. But 24-bit, 48K, great sound. It's used for most production stuff, or the DR60, which is a little bit higher up until you get into some of the sound devices stuff, which is um, eight, anywhere from 4 to 8 channel receivers, and they're all on separate tracks. And that's if you have like lav mics and and the booms and all that stuff. But it's just essentially a large interface. Like I use a Focusrite 18 the 18i20 Scarlett Focusrite um, interface, and it's got 8 inputs on it, XLRs, and that's great for recording, most everything that I need to worry about, at least for one person. Um, but you can, hook these things together in tandem and have 16, and you could record an entire band into something like Pro Tools. But it's cumbersome gear to bring. Behringer actually makes you're saying that's a lot of mics. It has I want to say it's 16 inputs. Um, so that and it just goes USB into a laptop, and then you have all your tracks separated, and then you can go and EQ and compress all the tracks and level everything out, and yeah, I wouldn't go too crazy with the drum. I'd put snare, kick, 2 overheads, toms if he's got floor tom, rack tom. Um, that's probably all I would use for that. I wouldn't even bother trying to mic the hi hat. It's going to bleed through with the snare anyway. And DI on the bass or a microphone on the bass. If he's playing upright, I would probably put a mic on the bass amp as opposed to doing a DI, because the click's not going to come through. DI upright doesn't sound great unless you use some sort of amp modeler or reamp the bass through through an amplifier, which you could always do that too. Um, but DIs, even if you have it controlled pretty well, it does run the risk of it live. If someone is on their game and they know what they're doing, they can make sure you back off the signal so you don't clip the DI signal. But if that's your only bass signal, you're kind of screwed. So I would just put a bass amp, a kick drum mic works well to record bass, or do like a 57 to capture the click, and put a kick drum mic on the bass amp. They make mics for that as well. And then for the guitar, just use a Sennheiser or a 57 or something. And then you just have your 58s, or I use one of those. If you've seen the live videos, you've seen it. It's like the Shure 55, it looks like the old school microphone. Um, yeah, that would be a great little setup. But yeah, those quick camera cuts, I don't like that. Even the jump, I try to avoid the jump cuts myself, which now with my little setup and the teleprompter, I have less of that in my videos. And if I instead of doing a jump cut, there's jump cuts and then there's cuts from jump cuts are I know it's the YouTube style, but if it's if it's not done too frequently, it's fine. Usually the trick to getting around that, and you'll notice, is not getting around it, but it won't just jump. So somebody will be talking and then boop, they'll just move, they're cut, a jump cut. Usually when you do something like that, you also zoom in or zoom out of the shot, so it looks doesn't look as jarring and as weird. Um, I'll do that. Sometimes I'll put a little like film effect when it's transitioning from one thing to another. The best way, the more professional way I think to get around it is that you actually just cut to a different angle, and you're not doing a jump, so it's not a jump cut. It just looks like a cut. But it was a specific video. It was uh, Paul McCartney live in Red Square back in the 2000s, and that live show, I thought, oh wow, this is cool. It'd be a great, a live performance, some current, and the jump cut, the cuts, it's just all over the place. It's barely on his bass for like a second, and then another, and then it's a pan shot, and then boom, back to another bag, right? Just like boom, boom, almost that fast, and it was just so annoying. I couldn't watch it. I had to just listen, basically, and just keep it on and listen to it was they had like a B-roll section of it where it was less edited, kind of on like a bonus feature or something, and that was better. But yeah, too much editing. Yeah, if it's every other second, it's too much. I think this. I don't know what this. I think there is kind of a standard rule of thumb, um, like every 3 seconds or every 5 seconds, do a cut to something. But like I said, it was faster than that. But the DVDs used to have these alternate angle things where a little something would pop up in the screen on the top left or right hand corner, and you would hit and you could play an alternate angle, and it would be just steady angle on the guitar. Um, some of the live in Japan Setzer orchestra video has that. You can just click the other angle, and it's just one camera on his guitar for the most part, so you don't see the rest of the band or him. You just see the guitar, and that was cool. Not every song did that, obviously, but I've noticed that a lot of stuff has stopped doing that. Well, I mean, plus physical medium versus everything's on YouTube now or streaming services, and I don't really see that being added to live concerts. Although I honestly don't really watch too many live concerts, partially because of trying to find them on YouTube. The quality is hit or miss. Oh, the shaky camera stuff they did that. Oh, I know. Ugh, it was terrible. Then the crazy zooms and everything. It's like, yeah, yeah. It was very, very annoying. Um, Especially in the music videos, more so than anything else. But I think Tubi actually has some of the better. I keep forgetting about Tubi, but that's probably the better place to watch uh, concert videos, and it's free. Yeah, I haven't played. I haven't played. I didn't play a guitar gig this week. I had just a bass gig Friday, and I don't have anything today, so I'm not in any rush to go anywhere. Um, Kind of just hang out for a bit, and I don't have anything tomorrow, so I don't have any. And next week, like I said, next week we're playing Narragansett Cafe, and I've got um, a duo next week, which is more of the jazzier type thing, and kind of a lot of minor stuff. think a lot of it has to do with the copyright. I've noticed it's playing a whole song. So when I did Sleepwalk on here, copyright claimed, not strike. Um, I did Oh by Jingo, did the whole song, so got that. That's the kind of stuff, and the way you can kind of somewhat get around that is that you don't play the whole song, you play it in bits and pieces, which is why the lesson videos work because I don't have to uh I don't play everything in one swoop, and you can't copyright chord progressions, so anything that doesn't involve melody, lyrics, you're fine. And since most of the stuff is just around the technique of the guitar, which like I said, the next one is Good Rockin' Tonight, so it's I when learning the solo by listening to it is a little different than I used to play it, and different than the way I've seen other people play it. And a lot of people will just play, which is not really correct, but um, partially correct. But from what I could hear, it's a little bit different. It's actually more of a droning. Well, the second time around. And a lot of people will just play. It's actually. I think there's an FCC regulation that allows for fair use if the bits are short enough. Ah, okay. Well, yeah. Well, that makes sense then. That's always good to know. Yeah, because you never know. I think it's really if the note if it's short enough and it's not a full melody, the copywritten verse. That's why um, "Summertime Blues" got copyright strike or strike, not strike. I keep saying that, but no, it's copyright claimed because I played the solo, and the solo is just the melody. And even though there isn't a solo in the original song, I know, but the and the Setzer version had that solo, and when I play live, I usually throw that in there because the song is so short. It needs it needs that. Um, it's either that or you know uh, repeat a verse, which you can do. Um, but even the Alan Jackson version, I think, throws in a solo. I don't know if Dwight Yoakam did it or not, but anyway, the every version I've heard except for the original doesn't have has a solo in there. So, and a lot of times live, especially the '50s stuff, the songs are so short that you have to add a solo into it. Um, so I'll do so when we play Sea of Love 12/8, I change it up a little bit. I the 3, and then goes to the 4, but I play a 6, 2, right. And on the turn, it goes here. I'll throw in those little leather chords in there just to make it more interesting for myself. And then for the solo, it just goes there, does the verse twice, goes to a bridge, back to this, repeats the same second verse again, and then ends. And that's it. And you're done. You're out in like 2 minutes. Just when people are starting to get up to dance, the song's over, which happens all the time. And so it's another thing. If you, I like to give out little pieces of advice of if you have a band or playing in a band or whatever, or even just playing in doing a jam or something. Um, there's if that's fun thing to do. There's a lot of them around me. I'm sure everybody's got somewhere somebody's doing a blues jam or a rock and roll jam of some kind, and you can show up with your guitar and maybe a small amp, or sometimes they even have the stuff right there, or at least the amps, and you just want to play a song or two, and you're playing a song and people start getting up to dance, but the song's almost over. Um, we'll look at each other, and somebody or the usually I'm playing and singing and everything else, so if I'm not paying attention, which is often, um, the the bass player or the will look at me and do one of these, and we'll just go around again, and we'll just go around and play the solo again or play the verse again, and people people like it, and then it gives them an extra couple of minutes to dance, because if not, then you stop the song and then you go right into the next one, and if the next song is fast, then they're just going to go back and sit down more than likely. And the more you keep people on the dance floor, the more likely they are to, obviously like the band, enjoy their evening, buy more drinks, um, which helps the bar, and of course tip the band and possibly buy merch, come see you again, all that, all that kind of stuff. So always try to be aware of that, conscious of what the audience is doing. Um, vocals too, but oh, okay. Yeah, I've never really noticed. I didn't really. Yeah, oh, that's interesting. I'll have to. I've never really listened to uh, to NPR because I don't really listen to radio. Um, I guess they have their own live stream thing or stream on the internet. On this, and for whatever reason, I just don't think about it. Um, yeah, there's that's true. Yeah, I have heard other people play it. I mean, other people do live streams and they play little bits of songs, and they're fine. Obviously, even on YouTube. Otherwise, they wouldn't continue to do it forever if they kept getting if they kept getting copyright claimed. Just don't do anything by. I know the ones to avoid, which is fine because I'm never going to bother. Is the Eagles, the Cars, and Bryan Adams and Garth Brooks apparently. So chances of me ever um you know playing any of that stuff are slim to none. So um yeah, I listen. And I usually just plug my phone in and play YouTube or Spotify or something or nothing. Um, a lot of the times I just drive home in silence because I've just played a gig and it's been loud and just want the quiet. But I keep forgetting about. I don't know why. Yeah, there's a radio in your car. I'll have to find out which station is NPR. I do not. I have no idea what my radio um radio numbers are. What's what on the radio these days? Yeah, I never. I used to know it down in Florida what the stations were, and when I listened to it then. But ever since once I got an iPod and a or honestly, once I got one of those little CD players that could pop into the tape cassette and play music, I stopped listening to the radio. And I'd have like a 6 CD changer in the car or whatever, and I would just do that and really wouldn't listen to the radio. Probably because every time I turn it on, it's always some modern god awful pop song, so I immediately click it off. Um, yeah, less than 10 seconds. Yeah, I think that's fine. I don't think that would get me into trouble. Um, again, it seems to be if I throw in little um I don't think that's going to get me into trouble. But if I played the whole song with the melody, yeah. I'm learning. I always like playing over these minor. That's putting on the Ritz. That was 3 seconds. But you know, playing melody, I don't really need to describe that. I mean, that's just anyway. You can you figure that out. I think most people can figure out how to play the melody on their own. The only it's describing if you want to take a piece of melody and make a chord melody out of it, then that's something to I know it took me a while to figure out how to do it. So if you have that song, See You Love, I play a solo. And instead of just playing the melody, and you can throw in these little chords, which is just, it's the big 2, or the dominant 2. You play it as a 9, and you're playing the melody on the top, which is the 7th, right? Flat 7th, the G. And when you voice it like that, in order to get your finger up there, just notice, oh, look at that. It's a D flat 7 flat 5. And you're playing that over an A. Because you can throw in that dominant 3rd. And that's throwing in that little tritone substitution there. And as you start to do the, voicing down a melody, which is just take your melody, see what chord's being played over that melody, and then voice whatever the melody note is on top, voice it down the chord. It's called 4-way close. And and then start thinking of, okay, well, it's a 7. What's also like a 7? A 9, a 13. And start playing it in different ways and see if you can come up with little alterations, and use your ear and, decide what's going to sound best. Sometimes a 9 sounds good. Sometimes a 7 sounds good. Sometimes a 13. Just depends on what you want to do. And then you end up with something like that, which is essentially just an A9. I just, again, eliminating the root, which is the first note you can eliminate. If you're building a chord and you have extensions, the first note you can eliminate from the chord is the root. The easiest. Don't even worry about it, because it's implied. It's either implied or it's played by the bass. So the next one would be the 5th, and then the 3rd, and so on and so forth. But usually at that point, you're into some other chord, completely other crazy extensions and different chords at that point. But yeah, that's just a 9, and you go. I'm just moving the G from here to the top. It just so happens that it's also the flat 5. C sharp flat 5, C sharp 7 flat 5, I guess technically. Also the tritone of the root. Just different ways to think about it. And then let's see what the next time the next part of the thing I go. Because it's just still over G. I'm playing a G6 there. And that's just a G chord. Bouncing back and forth with the melody. And work for the 2 again. Over the D here. I need the A on the top. The A is in the D chord. It's a flat D, right? But instead of playing it like this, you can always add, usually going, it depends on how you want to do it, but you can go from, you're on the 5, you can walk up, especially if you're playing a 6. You go from D7, D7 flat 9, to the G6. You can walk down too. But in this case, I'm walking up, and when I'm landing on that A note, it's just a partial D7 flat 9. But it's also a diminished chord. Oh, I love the Gretsch sound too. The Gretsch with that the basement amplifier. I mean, it works. It sounds good with other amps too. When I've been playing around with some just amp modeler stuff, just especially for teaching. They don't really make it anymore, but they make a different version of it, I guess. It's called the GT40 Mustang Fender amp. It's a little tiny little thing, but it's loud. It's like 40 watts for a tiny little amplifier, and it's got all these different settings and everything in there. And of course, I flip it to Fender Bassman. Like, the Bassman mod and the twin amp mod sound pretty decent. And if you do that and you click the gain up, like I was talking about, and then just boost the master up a little bit, turn the volume down, you get a pretty, it doesn't sound all that dissimilar from what I've got plugged in right now. And then of course you can just use a pedal for delay, even though it has delay built into the amplifier. A lot of those delays that are built into amplifiers, you can't get a quick thing like that. It's usually a single or a slower slapback. Unless it has a tap function on it, then you can kind of hit it really fast and hit it as fast as you can, and you'll get basically that. So yeah, that's but that little bit of breakup kind of fills in the whole sound, I think. Speed doesn't hurt either. Yeah, you can get a playing up here as another little. Oh, there was a squealer. Get that kind of sweet blues sound. You have the rhythm pickup. Different pickup sounds. Use the rhythm, the neck pickup, as opposed to playing down here. Sounds good, but you get a little bit of little sweeter tone when you're playing up here, using the pick over the top of the rhythm pickup, just a little bit above it. Every guitar is going to be a little different, but playing around with that. Yeah. So, and then of course you can play something like that, and I didn't switch any pickups and just playing down here by the bridge pickup. And of course, if you flip to the bridge pickup, get even more of that. Almost that old blues T-Bone Walker type sound. So you're playing the licks here. And you want to do a chord, and you flip, and you play over here. Get a little bit more mellow sound on the chords. You can always really mellow, play with your thumb. That's something I'll do sometimes if I want to quiet the guitar down without turning the volume knob down. Just I play that on what is it? I do that on. I think it's Choo 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 Boogie. Yeah, I just kind of. We're just straight chopping wood, Freddie Green style, right? Um, yeah, that changes it. All these little things that you can do to change the dynamics of playing without having to worry about mods and pedal boards and all of this other kinds of stuff. Although those things are fun, don't get me wrong. I was playing around with a funny. It was a Vox. I don't know what it was exactly. It was a Vox, but it was a Vox AC30 amp modeler, like a Line 6 or a Cyber Twin or one of those. Um, I'm sure. I think it was solid state. It didn't sound bad for what it was. It definitely had that Vox sound to it. But it had a lot of other little settings in there. The one that I found that sounded the best for this guitar was called California Clean, which was just a little dirty sounding, and um, I kept I think the amp settings I put on nothing. I didn't put any like distortion or anything like that. I just again increased the gain, bring the master down, bring the volume down, kept the treble up and the bass like similar to what I do with the basement settings, put the bass at like 4 or 5, put the treble all the way up. Doesn't have a presence knob. Most modern amps don't. And then put the delay on tape delay and tap the little tap rhythm for the delay really fast, and I got a pretty decent sound out of it. But there was I'd never played around with an auto wah before, and it was so funny. It was just funny sounding to me. Um, I thought it was ridiculous, but I could see where it could be useful. We'd actually do a couple of songs where I could use it, but I think it would be silly, silly sounding. But I don't even know if I have one here. Wonder if I've got one in a plug-in on this. Probably not. Hopefully it doesn't crash the whole thing. Uh, it does. It does have one. No idea what this would sound like. Yeah, get your humming. There it is. Sort of, kind of. Right? Ugh, kind of distorting. uh, yeah, we do a couple of doesn't sound the greatest, but anyway, um, anyway, I'll mute that. Yeah, so that yeah, we do that, the Sissy Strut. Um, that's one of those gigs. We'll play some, event gigs, quite especially in the summertime, where don't get me wrong, I enjoy playing anytime I get a chance to, but people are busy. They're we're part of the decor in a way, and so we just kind of blend into the background, and so with stuff like that, it gigs like that. It's fun to break out some of the toys. And I used to have a crybaby. I don't know if I still have it, but the it's just a string, I believe, like a volume pedal on the bottom of that, or it's got one of the gears. Or it's a gear in there, and I think it was a gear. Yeah, the string was the volume pedal. This one was a gear. So and it's just the new ones are just plastic. So the gear broke, and I wasn't able to bother, and I never bothered replacing it. So what's that say? Eh, as long as people don't leave their beer on your head. Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, for something like that, like most people just people are fairly respectable, so I don't really have to worry about it. And we don't really get any hardcore rockabilly. Oh, if you're oh, I get you. I see what you I okay. Quite literally. Yeah, put it yeah. Not well, you believe it or not, people will just kind of depends on the gig, but people will leave their stuff on the stage and just kind of leave their beers on the and their jackets and their bags and everything else like right by my pedal board and right by everything else like it's a couch, and but yeah, you just kind of you're part of the ambiance. So sometimes I mean, people are paying attention, obviously, and they can't help it. We're a rockabilly band. We're not just a jazz, you know, trio or something like that. When I do the jazz duo, really not jazz. We do rockabilly stuff too, but when we tame it down and do the jazzier stuff, it's even more in the background. But you're impossible to ignore, obviously. That you're playing an instrument in someone's face, so they know you're there. Yeah, right. Yeah, it's always an adventure playing different shows, but for the most part, it's pretty tame. I don't really have anything crazy. Um, knock on wood, haven't had anything nuts happen in a long time at a show. So I have in the past, but it's as of with this year, a couple of years ago, as of in the last few years, haven't really had anything too nuts. Right, it does. It yeah, rockabilly. It blends the jazz, blues, and country, especially in the guitar playing. Um, which is why I like it so much because it's guitar center, guitar focused. It's what got me into the genre for the most part in general because playing, um, learning guitar. Of course, I got into it because of the Beatles, like a lot of people did, and then went to the standard arc. Okay, you go and play Zeppelin and Hendrix and all that stuff. Um, and then wanted to know where those roots came from, of course. So I went back and listened to the '50s rock and roll, and then later I heard, and I'd always listened to Bill Haley and Gene Vincent and Eddie Cochran anyway, and I was like, oh yeah, of course, this stuff. I had, I loved that stuff, and started listening to like the guitar playing from that era, and then I heard the Stray Cats later, and loved that, and a lot of people my age at the time in the would wanted to play the stuff that was current on the radio, the modern stuff, which would have been in the '90s, and so a lot of that was that stuff, um, the '90s bands and all that, and I just wasn't into it, and the main reason why was because there just wasn't any guitar playing anymore. Everything was just this. It was just this all the time, and chords and simple um, solos like based around major scales until or it was either that or get into the really heavy stuff. And I wanted to move on. And I wanted to play something that had a little bit more guitar playing involved, other than just playing heavy rock stuff. So yeah, yeah, there can be big skills involved. I mean, he definitely brought in that the Chet Atkins stuff with the 3-chord rockabilly, and he brought in a lot of the jazz stuff too you know. Um, so you can learn all of these chords, and because it's swing based, it lends itself very well to jazz and all the big band chords, all that sort of sound. And you can play those chords in rockabilly. It works because it swings, and that's what got that's what made yeah, exactly, that's what makes it so great, is being able to play that. And then of course that combined with necessity. I wanted to play in a band. I wanted to form a band when I was you know a teenager, and it was difficult to find people in order to play a lot of this other stuff. You had to have at least 4 guys, so you'd have to have 2 guitars, a bass, and a drum. And I couldn't find, right, hence the Brian Setzer Orchestra. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's all those the different jazz chords, or here's like even in the orchestra, he has the Chet Atkins riff, and then throws it into uh, plays kind of a walking line. Whatever that is. Standard rockabilly thing, and then it goes into these. forget what the rest of the chords, the turnaround is. But yeah, because that's what, and it's all guitar forward. It's all guitar, you know, centered around the guitar, and the rockabilly stuff too. And trying to form a band in a three piece, I was like, oh, this stuff works with three piece. And I would play bass or I'd play guitar or whatever the case may be. And then so I'm playing something like, and yeah, and then hearing, of course, McCartney. Being a Beatles fan, hearing McCartney do like the Run Devil Run album, and playing at the Cavern, playing 20 Flight Rock and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, Eddie Cochran, and here and like, oh, I can play solos and I can do all of that stuff in a band, and it can be guitar forward, and I really liked playing lead, so it is easy for drummers and bassists to follow. Yes, that's why you can kind of put a makeshift band together, and it's tough when it's two everyone's completely new to each other, but if you're gonna swap, you can swap out a drummer for a gig here and there, and or a bass player here and there, a guitar player too, for that matter. And if everybody knows the form, you can just play it. You can just work. It'll just work. And you have to keep it simpler when you do something like that. So some of the tunes that some of the originals that we have is a little. I throw in, of course, I'll throw in something that's a little bit different. So we have one song that's very somewhere between Setzer and Bill Haley, called 47 Cadillac, and I throw in this, beginning intro that goes, and that's just the melody, but and it's standard, but it's a lot of rhythms and a lot of hits and things like that. So if you're not familiar with the tune, just being able to throw that under the bus, is is a little tricky sometimes. And it's got a bridge and a solo and a bridge. And has all these stops and starts and quick little rhythm things. So that can be tricky, but for the most part, all the covers, which is usually what will happen if I have a sub drummer or sub bass player. Yes, I already did once. Not strike, but claim. Yeah, I did. Yes, the very first live stream, I used the for the streaming soon thing. I put just the backing track um, for the song, not the back, but yeah, just without the vocals. So it was just the music, and um, I was my song. I can do it, but because the it's all run through CD Baby, um, which is Disc Maker's, I think something else too now. Um, they yeah, they copyright claimed it. uh, so I just all that means is they get their cut of it, and so the money will just come circling back around, and I'll get paid from them as opposed to direct money from YouTube, just a little less. Uh, so you just have to be yeah, you can't copyright strikes. I don't. Every time I hear about that when it comes to music, it's always like a direct intervention from someone, like the guy, like the Eagles or something, is going after Rick Beato or whatever. Or there's another, I forget the other bass player guy that's on YouTube. I can't remember his name. Um, he just did just an instrumental cover, bass cover of Hotel California, and got a copyright strike. Um, just crazy. So I won't even touch any of that stuff. Yeah, it's pretty funny. So I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to release my stuff through CD Baby going forward. You know, the next time around. Um, no, I mean, it's still there. You can watch. It's still under the tab thing, so it's still you can still watch it. But it just means it's just copyright claim just means you either don't get any money you or it's split or whatever they did. I've never copyright claimed anybody. I don't know how it exactly works. Some of it's probably automatic too, I would imagine. Oh, thanks. Appreciate that. Glad you can join us. Um, they were shut down, really? From music? That's crazy. Yeah, I am. That's why I don't risk it for something like this. You know, I just want to talk to you guys and play some guitar and have a little fun. But yeah, but getting back to that's why, the rockabilly thing, that's why I like it because you can be in a solo and go start playing rockabilly stuff and doing things like that to um throw in a couple of jazz riffs, you know. And and then turn around and just rock and roll. And then play chords. Back to finger picking. Back to whatever, and keep jumping around all the time. And you don't have to change. You don't have to step on pedals. You don't have to step on, or change your sound or whatever. Um, just jumping around back and forth, and then you got your pickup selectors, bridge pickup, bright, middle, there. I mean, what else do you need really? And then but it is more based. It is more skill based, I think, or more based on technique and style than it is just. It's not about changing your sound too much, but you are changing your sound, but you're changing it through the style in which you're playing and the dynamic in which you're playing, as opposed to just putting on a distortion pedal or boosting your volume or playing with a wah pedal or a flange or something like that. Um, um, Teaching a lot of stuff lately. I've a lot of people want to learn um, a lot of the um, metal stuff or you know the hair bands and stuff from the 80s. Some of that, metal stuff, but all that stuff is just based on major, minor, and pentatonic scales. All of the soloing, it's just fast. Um, so it's really just getting used to that, and a lot of it's played with distortion. So you're kind of sort of cheating, I think, because you can barely have to touch the guitar if you learn how to play your scales really well. I'm not saying that it doesn't require skill. It does, because doing the sweeping and and economy picking and playing really fast like that definitely takes practice and time and everything else. And I respect the skill that goes into it. But with this stuff, you're playing clean 90% of the time. So you have, yeah, it's fast and distorted and usually down tuned. A lot of the metal stuff is down tuned to like a low C. Like and might have 7-string guitars or whatever. It sounds silly when you play it clean, but is there a lot of ads? Oh, jeez. Oh, about that. It's supposed to tell me if there's an ad popping up. I don't know if I. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, there we go. Okay. Sorry about that. Um, I must not have hit that button. I'm supposed to hit this. Oh, it wasn't showing up for me. Oh, you know why? Because it had a stupid cover, like it was giving me some other notification. Because I usually have this thing, and I just kind of click it off. Sorry about that. Um, so yeah, I usually just I'll let the ads go for once I'm done, and if people want to rewatch it, that's fine. But if I'm on the live stream, I don't want to have that. It's annoying. Cool. Thanks for letting me know, though. Cool. Um, um, yeah. You got to have the delay, though, for sure, when you're playing Rockabilly. Yeah. Back in the day, either. Yeah, there's no feel. Well, a lot of the stuff, even today, I mean, it's very technical, and it's all played to a click track, and it's all, yeah, the time signatures are all over the place, and you have these, what do they call it, asymmetric time signatures, 11, 4, 7, 7-11, and whatever. And it's just, yeah, it's also harmonically uninteresting to me too, because a lot of the chords that are played in that stuff are, um, they're just major chords. They're just a basic major minor chord. Occasionally you'll see like a major 7 or something like that, or they'll throw in one little tiny thing that's a little, like a usually it's some sort of minor second or something that makes it sound dissonant and weird, especially if it's played in a low register. So you're kind of getting into muddy low interval limits and with things like that. Um, like I said, if that's what people like, I mean, if you enjoy it, it's fine. I don't want to, knock any, knock it too much. I'm just saying what, for my personal preference, I just don't like a lot of that because of, like it is. It's kind of all the humanity sucked out of it. But that's just a lot of modern music in general, regardless of the genre. Not that there's much variation, which is my biggest complaint about modern music, is just, um, flat two. Yeah, yeah, minor second. Yep. I mean, that's the, yeah. It's yeah, it's weird. Uh, I mean, it can be used. As a passing tone. You hear it in bluegrass. It's quick. It's quick, and it's almost like a little passing tone. It's not something that you're focusing on and hanging on. Um, So, but a lot of the stuff, it just like I said, not a lot of interesting things going on harmonically, a lot of crazy things going on rhythmically, but again, it's all played to a click track and everything's for the most part for modern music in general, there isn't a lot of variation. That's my biggest complaint. It's not like it used to be where you could listen to you'd hear a Beatles song in the 60s or even in the not that I'm old enough to remember it, but I've heard old radio broadcasts of what radio would have sounded like had you'd listened to it as far as the way what music was being played. Um, the You'd hear like a Beatles song, and then you'd hear a Sinatra tune, and then you'd hear a Creedence song or whatever. It would be all over the place on the same station. Now, of course, it was mostly AM radio back then, but still on today, yeah, passing tones don't count. Yeah, at today it's all compartmentalized, and every radio station's got its own specific thing, and then all of the recorded music, it's not even played by real instruments half the time. Most music, maybe the guitar is real, usually it is, but the bass maybe not, or if it is, it's doubled with a MIDI electric, MIDI sound. Um, the what's the other? And the drums have triggers on them usually, and they're quantized. I forget who did it. I think it was Rick Beato that did it, where he showed how the drum groove for Dryer Maker Zeppelin, kind of the Zeppelin reggae tune. I think that was the song. Um, Might have been a different tune, but anyway. So yeah, it's all just production. It's all done quantized to a click track, and you use what's called a beat detective, which is something that's in most DAWs today. Pro Tools has it, and you go in and you find the slices and where the beats are, and you can quantize it, so everything's in perfect time. And if you listen to that Zeppelin thing, and you listen, I think it was him that put the quantized version next to the original, and you can hear it's just all the life is completely sucked out of it. It doesn't swing anymore. It doesn't have that feel. Um, and that's what between that and the fact that there's no variation in music today on the mainstream radio, you have to find local underground radio stations. Um, yeah, you don't really need to. I mean, most drummers now with big shows, like you say, they get ready to play it just like the recording. They're playing with these Ableton drum programs or music program, and everyone's got the earpiece, and they're listening to the click, and they're counting it off, and the drummer's getting, counting off and they're basically playing to a track, even though they're playing for real, but the drummer is keeping it in line. And of course, if there are any MIDI triggers that need to be played, so like if they could potentially have like um, a string section or a horn section or whatever thing they want, um, it's gonna play just like you're playing to a backing track, and it's automatically just gonna kick in. And yeah, everyone just sounds like a jukebox. So I wonder why live music is a dying thing. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not for lack of musicians, because there's plenty of people out there on YouTube, and no, get off. Right, exactly. It's there's plenty of young people learning to play guitar and bass and keyboards and all sorts of different things. It's not that. Um, it's just you know, obviously the whole Ticketmaster, what's the let's see how the thing, Live Nation merger stuff. That's not helpful. But that's a whole nother level. I'm not even close to having to deal with that. Um, but yeah. So I mean, the best thing, and it's general. I think actually, what's his face, Beato did do a video on it, and I thought he got a lot of pushback against it. It was like him screaming at clouds, you know. um, it's just people aren't as interested in music anymore, because everything's so immediate, and you have Spotify, and you have um, YouTube, and you have the stuff that you just be accessed right at your fingertips. And there's no more interaction with reality anymore. There's no more. There's the the ritual of going to the record store and finding the latest record and seeing it on the rack and taking it home and opening it and putting it on the turntable, or even the CD and opening up the packaging and reading about the band and seeing the picture of it and telling your friends about it and doing all that stuff is a huge. It's not just for music; it's for everything. It's the same with movies. Buying the latest video release or buying the latest video game, even you would go and get the physical thing and put it in the machine and play it and read the instructions. It's all gone. It's all just boom, immediate, and there's no nothing tangible anymore. So I think that's part of it. Um, but live music is still there. Yeah, yeah. Springsteen, Stones, Taylor Swift, McCartney too. Um, pretty much. I mean, because they're the ones that can get the money. They can charge those. There was a big concert here up in Mass. I think it was the Gillette Stadium. Was Pantera and Metallica. I didn't go, but people were telling me about it. And yeah, the Stones are in their 80s. McCartney's 80. He actually, it was his birthday. The concert I went to see him at Fenway in Boston, and they he was turning 80 like that, like the next day or the next week or whatever it was. So the whole crowd like got these signs together that said happy birthday and played. The whole crowd like saying happy birthday to him and stopped the concert for a minute or so. It was cool, but yeah, they're getting up there. Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, I don't think that I don't I've never seen the Stones live. I've never seen Springsteen live. I've know people that have, but I don't know how close they sound like the record. I know Zeppelin was a big advocate for that, like not sounding like the record. They didn't want to sound like that. They didn't want to be a jukebox. So what they played in the studio was what came out in the studio, but what they played live was their own thing. Um, which I appreciate that because I don't want to hear exactly like the record. Um, it's always gonna. It should be, if you're playing a, it depends on the music too. It's gotten to the point where it's not just a matter of playing the notes or playing the same solos every single time for everything. It's now the sonic sound. Everything is exactly like the record. Where back then, or to me, what I would consider like a real band, even if you have extra instruments on a recording, when you play live, if you don't have those instruments with you, the live version just doesn't have that. Um, early '60s, but had never heard of the Beatles, and so it's much later. This thing is like covering up what you're saying. Uh, nice. Um, yeah, they both. Yeah, they all started out as bar bands. A lot of those. Um, and yeah, the music had its own life to it. And if you hear the live recordings, it doesn't sound exactly like the same. Tempo's all over the place, it's up and down. The things, vocals are off here and there, and that's fine. And um, that's the way it should be. And when I play, I mix and match. You know, some people love to completely improvise everything, and some people like to be rigid and play everything note for note. I mix 50-50. Some songs I will play the songs as as close as I can um, to the original solo, even if it's my own song. And then others, I don't. When I play that 47 Cadillac song, every time I play the solo, it's a little bit different each time. I never play it exactly 100% the same. Um, but then I play this other song I have, which is a 2-beat song called Way Out West, and that one I pretty much played note for note every time. I have this little solo. Always play it the same way. But then other tunes, um, I don't. So it just depends on what the song is. Usually with the swing stuff, I'll tend to improvise whatever. The 2-beat stuff, um, uh, it depends. Again, it depends. I used to play a really fast 2-beat, that kind of tempo, and I would just improvise whatever whatever solo I would do. And it would be different every time. Whatever would come to me, and I would always think of learn little tricks and learn new riffs and think, oh, I can throw that in there and throw that in there and throw that in there, and I try to keep it back and forth just to keep your mind sharp and keep it fresh for me and for everybody else. So it's never the same 100 all the time. And I always keep getting reminded of every time I think about stuff like this. Um, I can't help but think of the Frank Zappa quote where he talks about all these players that are playing these solos live, and they're playing it note for note, and it's spotless. And he said, just think of a wind up monkey. Um, and that's what now the notifications coming up. Um, no, I probably not. Yeah, they probably would have never played to a click track or Ringo either. Uh, they didn't do that back then. Ringo's tempo was spot on. I mean, um, that's a skill to definitely have, which is huge in comparison to um, yeah, you can be you know technical and have all this huge drum set and play everywhere and play all the time, but if play all these crazy fills and everything else, but if you can't come back to the one, or your tempo is speeding up through that, you know what's the point? Yeah, they I'm sure they would have been insulted. um oh, Ringo's still around, we can ask him. Oh, Max Weinberg too, Springsteen, yeah. Oh yeah, great drummer. um I mean, Yeah, I don't like it. We don't use one. I don't use one for recordings. I don't mind it if because even if the tempo does fluctuate a little bit, it's fine. It's organic. It's natural. It gives it that energy, and that's what it's about. Is going in and recording, making a record of what you're doing at the time, and you have this. You pick the take that sounds the best. That's got the best feel. And sometimes even if there's a little bit of a flub or a mistake, if it's got a really good feel and as long as the mistake isn't too horrible, I'd rather have a take that's got more energy and feel to it than something that's technically perfect and lifeless. What was Ringo's kit? I'm not sure. I don't know. Oh yeah, he just had like a regular 5-piece kit. Um, yeah, that's not fungus. um, oh, it's okay. It's just funny. Um, the yeah, I mean that's all the Eric, the drummer for the Teledynes, that's all he uses, 5-piece vintage Rogers kits. Which actually would like some point do a video on some of the other guys in the band too, and talk about the gear for and the instrumentation for upright bass and the stuff that goes into that, the type of stuff we people have asked about what type of gear everyone's using, and you know he uses primarily Rogers drums. The bass player has an old K upright from the 30s that he uses when we play live. And the amplifier that he has, I don't know what the amplifier he uses. It sounds really good. It's really small, but it sounds good. Um, Av- Avatar or something like that. I'd never heard of it. It's some sort of boutique cab or something. Yeah, simple kit. That's all you need. You don't need all these overly, big Neil Peart type things. Um, it's unnecessary. I mean, and it's not just for this genre of music. I think it's just for pretty much everything. I mean, I'm not into the metal stuff, so and what'll change what'll if you disagree, if it'll change your mind on that real quick, try lugging that stuff around for a while. And you'll change your mind real quick. You'll eventually get down to, you know what? I'm just bringing a snare, a kick, and a ride, and that's it. Um, the same thing with the you do this long enough, and you're always trying to figure out ways to make things be minimalist and bring less, not more. Um, like I said, I went through miking a bunch of stuff, and it's like, no, I don't need to mic the guitar. I just, it's yeah, keep it simple, man. Simple is better, and it's just more complicated. The more complicated you get, the more stuff you have to bring, the more gear, whether it's from a PA standpoint or you know your guitar rigs. Um, yeah, no roadies, no big kits, exactly. Um, even from from guitar standpoint or whatever, it's um it's just one more thing that can go wrong, and the last thing you you really want to be focused on, I think, on the audience, the crowd, what the gigs do, your songs, your lyrics, your, you know, we add songs fairly frequently, I feel. Um, at least from my experience playing in bands where I would, you get in a band at first and it's like, oh, it's all new and you're adding a bunch of tunes right away. And then you get a set of 30, 40. I mean, we have over 100 songs at this point, but that we can just play at any, at a moment's notice for the most part, if I if I remember it. But you eventually start to slow down and you start maybe add a song or two here or there, or you might add originals and that's about it, and you don't really add anything. And we try to, because we play a lot of the same places throughout the year, and a lot of local venues are like that. They'll have the same bands um, year after year after year, and some people change it up. Some people, a lot of places don't. Um, and but in order to stay relevant and to keep playing, I feel like to keep it interesting for everybody, you need to change your set list up. And so it's not just rearranging the songs, but adding new material. And that's what we try to do. And we try to add at least two or three a month. It's tough with everybody's life to try to get together and actually rehearse these things. And so we'll wait until we get at least a good 4, 5, or 6 tunes ready to go, get together, rehearse, knock them out, and then we'll do it like a week before the next show, practice them, and then play them at the gig. And then if the ones that went really well, we'll keep. The ones that didn't go well, we'll either try it again next time, pull it off the list temporarily, try to rehearse it if it works, and if we figure out why it's not working, um, then we'll fix the issue obviously and put it back. If not, then we might just you know not bother anymore, just can it altogether. Um, a lot of the times, some songs will end up in that gray area where is it good? It worked? Yeah, it was okay. Wasn't great. Maybe if we keep playing it, it'll start to work out. And it took a little while for a couple of songs where I always felt so awkward playing certain tunes. Just they weren't resonating for me. It just wasn't working. And then we just kept doing it, and after a while, you start to become more comfortable with it, and it starts to work. So don't give up on a tune if it doesn't work right away. Sometimes it takes 4, 5, 10 times of playing it live. Only if it's like completely a disaster, um, you might want to think about reworking it a little bit. Or it's causing people to turn away and walk away, run away from you. Then you might want to reconsider. Ah, new things and songs that he wrote back in the 60s. Interesting. Yeah, one of the tunes that we would do is we do a slow version. Well, it is a slow song of a Sinatra tune called "Angel Eyes," and but I have the tremolo on the guitar, so it sounds kind of like this Harlem Nocturne, creepy. Uh, Minor jazz thing. It's cool, and it took me a little while to get used to it, but probably because it was a little outside our wheelhouse, and everyone was getting the feel for it and how the drums were going to be, the tempo, because it was one of those tunes where it was a little too fast, it wasn't, it was too fast, and if it was a little too slow, it was too slow. You had to find that sweet spot, and we finally got it. So, and tempo is really everything. But there's another one where I do a lot of chord melody stuff. So instead of just playing the melody on the solo, I'll do something like. fills it in if you have one guitar, right? So it's opposed to just playing individual lines. And I'll usually have the tremolo going with that one. Yeah, it plays the same way twice. Yeah, and it depends on the song. Yeah, I pretty much we play the songs the same way each time for the most part. There's a couple that I don't. Um, like if I play like a lot of the 12 bar stuff, I don't play the same each time. There's a tune we do by the Thunderbirds called um, "Walking to My Baby," and a lot of people do it. It's a pretty standard blues bar band cover, and it's kind of a rumba thing. Right, 1 to the 5. And I'll start it off that way and then go into a verse, and then the solos will go this way, and we'll have a dynamic where I'll throw it to this player if playing with somebody else, and play really quiet for a little bit, and then maybe I'll throw in another verse, and it just depends on the tune. But I usually for 12 bar stuff I'd never play the same solo twice because I don't want to have to memorize all that stuff. Oh, there's going to be natural variances even if you don't play. Of course, yeah. Um, and with a lot of this stuff, the notes and things, they're fast. Uh, you're gonna change just in general. Um, you're just going to. So I'll play sometimes if I do a riff like this. Little variances like that. Instead of going, I'll go, or I'll come down like that. Just depends. Whatever. Or you'll get finger tied and you'll get caught and you'll start going. And so something will happen, then you'll just go right back. Whatever you're playing, you know. And like if you play the same thing like 3 times, it's no longer a mistake. So yeah, there's always going to be variations in the little ways you play. But a lot of this with the modern stuff, man, it's all just played to computers, and it's right there. So a lot of the times, if it's just there's no improv at all, it's just and a lot of the stuff is fairly simple enough from a guitar perspective that there really isn't any room to make mistakes anyway. So unless somebody's playing somebody happens to have a little like 5 seconds of improv, and I mean that's got to be awful, right? You know, you have all these concert nights locked in, and every night, and it's like I got 5 seconds to do my little pentatonic run, and you miss it, and and that's all you get. the entire night, or maybe one other song, and it's like, like at least they're making money because that's just sounds so boring to me. Um, but you know, all we can do here is to just keep this channel going and keep other channels like it going and support local musicians and support local players that play the genres that you like to hear. And you know, at this point, I'm just focusing on this and the the recording as far as, and then we play the live shows. As far as traveling or touring with the band is probably not in the cards, at least not at the moment. So if there was ever an interest in it and things changed, I'm not opposed to it. I would be it would be fun for sure, or at least I think it would be. I've done a little bit of regional touring in the past, and it has its moments. It's fun. It's fun for sure. But and playing different venues every night is cool. But for now, get some new originals out there and keep going with the videos and everything. And I have a ball making these videos too. So uh, it's a lot of fun, and I enjoy all the aspects of it, from the playing to um, the writing the tab is a little time consuming and a little dull, but the rest of it is fun. All the editing and stuff like that. Yeah, there I've noticed that a little bit. Um, so you have to try to keep it interesting, and the what keeps my interest up, um, at least as far as what keeps my interest up is try you need something to feel inspired by, something to inspire you. And so I go I'll go back and watch videos of whatever, uh some of my favorite songs if I haven't learned them before, and say what other solos or riffs or licks or things like that I just haven't really had a chance to go and figure out. Is there anything, and try to find it. And it's just, once I do that and I find myself like, okay, I'm gonna sit down, I'm actually gonna learn this. Um, it you feel that spark again to get interested in wanting to play a little bit more. And oh, I can't wait to try that live and see how that works. And keeping that up is interest is I think important, so you stay inspired, as well as trying to write original songs is a whole nother as a angle of staying inspired. What helps me on that is to try to just forget about it for a little bit and just listen to music, listen to your favorite artist, even if you've heard it before. Try to listen to some new stuff, um, and just listen for a little while, and listen more frequently. I find myself not listening to anything because if I play 3 or 4 gigs a week, um, I don't want to hear anything for at least a couple of days because I'm already oversaturated with just sound in general and music. So I need a little bit of a break. But if I'm if I do have a break from playing, then if I listen to other things, uh, ideas will start to come to you, and you'll start to, oh, that sounds like a cool little melody, and you write that down, and then you do have to take some time and I'm going to write this song. I'm going to spend 2 hours writing a song and just finish it, write it. Doesn't matter what the lyrics are. Doesn't matter if you've completed it 100%. But I think it was, I think it was John Lennon that said that if you're starting to write a song, just finish it. Because if you say you're going to go back to it, you're not going to go back to it. It'll just sit there and you probably won't touch it again. Or if you do, it's not going to be as good as it would have been had you just went after it and finished it right away. because you can always go back and tweak things. But if you leave it completely open-ended and you didn't even finish it, it's more than likely will just sit there and do nothing. Anyway, that's my rant. I've been going for a little bit today. I don't have anywhere to go, so. All right. Well, anyway, I do need to kind of get back to a few other things, just normal life chores and whatever. So, and I need to finish the mix for the video so I can get it up here by get it uploaded maybe tomorrow. And it should be ready to go. All right. Well, thank you guys again thank you Gizmodus for joining the live stream. Everybody else that's been watching, that's still watching. No, it's fine. Yak away. No, I definitely enjoy this. You know, I could keep going, but yeah, I'll put the brakes on for now, but yeah, we'll do it again next week. Next week is going to be on a Sunday. Instead of Saturday, it's going to be a little earlier at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Same bat time, same bat channel, as they say. Yeah, because I got a gig. And the reason why is because I have a gig next Saturday, and I could do it early at 3, but I'd rather not cut it short. I'd rather have it a little more open-ended like this. That way I can keep going if I want to, and I don't have to cut it off. Cool. So, thank you guys again. Like and subscribe. That always helps. Thank you for checking out the videos. The new one really soon, and then as things are clearing up, I'll be able to get more content. We got a lot of good content coming up for this year, and hopefully keep ramping it up for next year. So thank you guys again. Until next time, have a good one, everybody. Later.